Hello. In our last video we began exploring the career of Nicholas Hawksmoor, one of the architects who worked alongside Christopher Wren on the city churches and was his deputy at the Royal Hospital Greenwich. Overshadowed by the people with whom he collaborated, he was somewhat neglected in the 18th and 19th centuries. In more recent times he has been accorded the credit his achievements deserve, and his position as one of England's greatest architects is now assured. To a large extent, his reputation rests on 6 highly original London churches, designed for a commission established by an Act of Parliament in 1711 to oversee the acquisition of sites and the provision of new churches to meet the needs of a rapidly growing suburban population. The first of the 6 was the Church of St Alphege in Greenwich Church Street, built between 1712 and 1718 to replace a storm-damaged medieval building which marked the site where Alphege, Archbishop of Canterbury, was martyred in 1012. After spending 6 months as a captive of the Danish army, he was killed for refusing to be ransomed. Hawksmoor's church is rectangular, in Portland stone. The east front has a Tuscan portico with a pediment crowned by large ornamental urns. Tuscan pilasters surround the rest of the building. Ground floor square windows have hefty triple keystones. As an economy measure, the Commission insisted the medieval tower was retained. It was refaced and given a spire by John James in 1730. Inside, the wrought iron altar and balcony rails are by master ironsmith Jean Tijoux, who produced the screens at St Paul's Cathedral for Christopher Wren. An elaborately carved pulpit and the design of the Corinthian capitals are attributed to Grinling Gibbons. A memorial to St Alphege, on the floor in front of the altar, is inscribed, "He who dies for justice, dies for Christ." Hawksmoor's St George in the East, Cannon Street Road, Wapping, was destroyed in the Blitz and reconstructed on a smaller scale. Massive triple keystones and lower storey square windows are again in evidence. The idiosyncrasies here are the 2 distinctive pepperpot towers. St Anne's Church in Commercial Road, Limehouse, is Portland stone with smooth rusticated corners, where the edges of each masonry block have been chamfered, giving a V-shaped joint. The tower has an intriguing sequence of shapes, polygons and squares and angles. When building began in 1714, Limehouse was only just beginning to be developed and was still relatively open. St Anne's was the first large building on the approach along the Thames to the Pool of London. Its clock was deliberately set high to be visible to shipping, and until recently the golden ball on top of the tower was a Trinity House sea mark and navigational aid. The rector of St Anne's acts as an honorary chaplain to the Royal Navy, and the church flies the Navy's white ensign. At Christ Church on Commercial Street, Spitalfields, Hawksmoor produced a dramatic blend of classical and early Gothic, combining a classical Tuscan porch with a Gothic spire. The main facade of St George's, Bloomsbury, has an imposing pedimented Corinthian portico. Its unusual stepped steeple with a statue of George I appears in the background of William Hogarth's Gin Lane. Fighting each other at the base of the steeple are a lion and unicorn, supporters of the royal coat of arms. Site constraints meant St George's had to be built on a north-south axis and inhibited Hawksmoor's inventiveness. There were no such limitations with St Mary Woolnoth on the corner of King William Street and Lombard Street, where a medieval church that had been patched up after the Great Fire of London was demolished to make way for a new building. Another imposing west facade. This time the rustication includes flanking giant Tuscan columns rising to a broad turreted tower. The east face is also deeply rusticated, as are the round-headed arches of the side elevation. St Mary's held its first service on Easter Day 1726. It is, for me, the pièce de résistance of Hawksmoor's 6 London churches, a highly individual personal statement and display of ingenuity. Next time, in the last video of this series, the focus will be back on our main subject, Christopher Wren. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.